For over 30 years, Papa John's built a $2 billion brand on one recipe: better ingredients, better pizza. And for a long time, people actually believed it. The pizza ranked #1 in customer satisfaction for 6 straight years. Peyton Manning bought 31 franchises. The NFL made it their official sponsor. Then the recipe changed and the slogan kept running anyway. The stores stayed open. The boxes kept saying the same thing. But what was inside them was not what people had trusted for 3 decades. This is how one recipe destroyed a $2 billion brand, and nobody said a word as it happened. In 1984, a 22-year-old named John Schnatter sold his 1971 Camaro Z28, used $1,600 of the money to buy used pizza equipment, and knocked out a broom closet in the back of his father's failing bar in Jeffersonville, Indiana. He started making pizzas for whoever was drinking that night. Within a year, the pizza was outselling the beer. Schnatter's philosophy was built around a single conviction. The major chains had chosen speed and scale over quality, and customers who noticed deserved something better. The dough followed a specific recipe. The sauce used fresh packed tomatoes. The garlic sauce came in every single box because Schnatter believed the experience mattered down to the last detail. To keep the dough consistent across every franchise, he built a centralized commissary system that made it fresh and shipped it to each location twice a week. The recipe was never left to individual interpretation. That specificity attracted real loyalty. Papa John's went public in 1993. By the late 1990s, independent customer satisfaction surveys ranked the brand #1 among all national fast food chains for 6 consecutive years. The slogan was not invented to position Papa John's. The brand earned it by delivering on the promise repeatedly in front of real customers who kept coming back. When a quality promise survives a blind taste test, it means something. When it survives 6 consecutive years of them, it becomes the entire reason the brand exists. That was also, quietly, the most fragile thing about it. The positioning worked as long as nobody else improved. Someone did. The brand that moved fastest was not a newcomer. It was the chain Papa John's had spent 20 years telling customers they were better than. In 2009, Domino's was a punchline. A viral video showed employees contaminating food. Consumer satisfaction surveys ranked their pizza below canned goods. Their CEO went on camera and said the pizza was bad. They ran national advertising with real customers describing the crust as cardboard and the sauce as ketchup. Then they scrapped the recipe, rebuilt their digital ordering infrastructure from scratch, and launched a tracking app that let customers follow their order from oven to door. By 2017, Domino's had surpassed Pizza Hut as the largest pizza chain in the world by sales, posting 41 consecutive quarters of positive same-store sales growth in the United States. Little Caesars had locked up the value end of the market. The category had moved. For a while, the numbers backed Papa John's up. The quality positioning had worked for 20 years. The NFL sponsorship was generating national exposure on every broadcast. Schnatter's face was still on the boxes. The logic, on paper, was sound. What Papa John's did not account for was that the competitive advantage they had built their entire identity on was no longer exclusive to them. Same-store sales growth was decelerating through 2016 and into the first 3 quarters of 2017. The problem was not new, it just was not being addressed. But here is the detail that everyone missed at the time. The sales decline that was already happening had nothing to do with what was about to happen. They were 2 separate problems, and when the second one arrived, it made the first one impossible to separate from it. On November 1st, 2017, Schnatter was on a quarterly earnings call. Papa John's held official sponsorships with 23 of 32 NFL teams. Its logo was on every broadcast. Same-store sales were down, and Schnatter blamed the NFL's handling of national anthem protests. He said the league had hurt Papa John's shareholders. The comment was on financial news within hours. The stock dropped 12% over the following 2 weeks. Schnatter stepped down as chief executive officer on January 1, 2018. The NFL ended the partnership in February. Pizza Hut replaced Papa John's as the official NFL sponsor the following day. Peyton Manning, who had built his franchise stake to 31 Denver locations, sold them all 2 days before the NFL cut ties. 7 months later, Forbes reported that Schnatter had used a racial slur on a private media training call. He resigned as chairman the same day the story ran. The brand spent $50.7 million managing the fallout across legal costs, franchisee support, and a full marketing overhaul. Same-store sales fell 9.8% in the third quarter of 2018 alone. Nobody said anything about what was happening to the product underneath all of that. The slogan kept running, the story kept selling. If this story feels familiar, it is because the playbook is the same one that runs through every brand on this channel. Subscribe now because what comes next is the part most versions of this story get wrong. By February of 2019, the board had brought in outside help. Activist investor Starboard Value injected $200 million into Papa John's. Starboard's CEO became chairman of the board. The firm had previously turned around Darden Restaurants, the parent company of Olive Garden, not a pizza company. In August of 2019, Rob Lynch was named CEO, having previously served as president of Arby's. In March of 2019, Shaquille O'Neal joined the board and became the public face of the brand. The people now controlling Papa John's had been brought in to solve a financial problem. The quality standard that had built the brand's loyalty was not part of the brief. Nobody reported on what happened to the standard. During the second quarter of 2020, North America same-store sales grew 28%. The pandemic had made delivery the only option for most households, and Papa John's was positioned to benefit. Revenue crossed $2 billion for the first time in 2021. In November of that same year, the company announced a full brand refresh, a new logo, a redesigned visual identity, and the removal of the apostrophe. Papa John's became Papa John's. The company described it as momentum. 2 years earlier, in a documented interview, Schnatter said he had inspected more than 40 pizzas in 30 days and the product no longer tasted like the original. He claimed olive oil had been removed from the dough and that the quality inspection system he had built the brand's consistency on had been abandoned. Chief Executive Officer Rob Lynch responded publicly. He said the recipe had not changed. Nothing had been altered. Better ingredients, better pizza. The slogan kept running on the new boxes with the new logo. This slogan remained a public promise. Pay attention to this next detail because it explains the gap between what the brand says and where it is now. The pandemic bounce was temporary. When it ended, the underlying position had not changed. Domino's had 22,000 locations and $20.1 billion in system-wide retail sales. Papa John's had approximately 6,000 locations and roughly $5 billion in system-wide sales. The same fiscal year, the same category. The brand built on the premise of a better product was closing stores while the chain that had publicly called its own product terrible a decade earlier was posting record sales. At its peak in November of 2021, Papa John's stock reached $122 per share. By early 2026, it was trading at approximately $30, a decline of roughly 74%. In early 2026, the company announced the closure of approximately 300 underperforming North American locations by the end of 2027. 7% of corporate staff was cut alongside it. For context, Papa John's had grown from just over 3,000 North American locations in 2018 to nearly 4,000 by 2022. It is now contracting back toward where it started. The garlic sauce still comes in the box. The slogan has not been retired. Better ingredients, better pizza. It was on every box when the dough recipe was first written, still running when the NFL cut ties, and still there when the founder said publicly the product had changed and the chief executive officer said publicly nothing had changed. The brand that ranked #1 in customer satisfaction for 6 consecutive years is now closing a third of its worst performing stores. while the slogan that built the loyalty keeps printing on every box that goes out the door. The real question is not whether Papa John's survives. It is whether the thing that made the slogan mean something ever comes back. So far, nobody has answered that.